Should the Los Angeles Rams seriously consider making a move for Mark Andrews? At first glance, the idea might seem surprising. After all, the Rams already have one of the deepest and most talented tight end groups on the roster. They invested heavily in the position, relied on it more than any other team in the league last season, and the results spoke for themselves. So, why even consider adding another veteran? The answer isn't as simple as saying yes or no, and that's exactly what makes this discussion so interesting. I'm about to tell you all the details, but first, make sure you've already hit the like button. But only do it if you agree that the Rams are stronger than the Seahawks. Man, I couldn't agree more. They better be ready for us this season. This year's Super Bowl belongs to the Rams. If possible, write it like this: Go Rams, on our way to the Super Bowl. Now, let's talk about what really matters. Mark Andrews. Remember that name. There's something impossible to ignore. Last season, the Rams built a large part of their offense around their tight ends. They used the 13 personnel formation with 3 tight ends on 331 plays, accounting for 30.5% of their offensive snaps. No other NFL team came close to that level of usage. Every other franchise ran fewer than 140 plays out of that same formation. That wasn't a coincidence. It reflected an offensive philosophy that places tremendous value on having multiple tight ends who can contribute in different ways. Considering how effective the offense was, many teams would simply keep the current roster intact and move forward without making major changes. However, the discussion remains centered on whether there's still room for improvement. If the organization proved anything throughout the offseason, it's that no position should be considered untouchable. If there's an opportunity to improve the roster, it's worth exploring. That brings us back to Mark Andrews. Before deciding whether he would be a smart addition, it's worth taking an honest look at what the Rams already have. Tyler Higbee remains the veteran leader of the group. Despite missing games due to injury last season, he still found the end zone 3 times and maintained impressive efficiency whenever he ran his routes. The organization clearly values his contribution, having recently signed him to a 2-year contract extension. Experience matters, and Higbee has spent years proving his value within this offensive system. Then there is Colby Parkinson, who emerged as one of the biggest surprises of last season. His 8 touchdown receptions were not only the best total of his career, they also placed him behind only Puka and DeMonte in total touchdowns on the team. His size makes him an obvious target in scoring situations, standing 6'7" and weighing 266 pounds. The Rams clearly found creative ways to use that physical advantage near the goal line. Davis Allen also showed encouraging development. Playing the best football of his young career, he finished with 24 receptions, 208 receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns while continuing to contribute as both a receiver and blocker. His versatility allows him to remain valuable regardless of the offensive package being used. Terrence Ferguson may not have received a huge workload during his rookie season, but every opportunity seemed to produce something explosive. He caught only 11 passes, yet averaged more than 20 yards per reception, with 3 of those catches ending in touchdowns. His ability to threaten defenses vertically gives this group a completely different dimension. Finally, rookie Max Percher arrives with significant expectations after being selected in the 2nd round of this year's draft. His receiving ability became his calling card throughout college. His route running, reliable hands, and ability to create separation have generated considerable excitement, even though blocking remains an area where further development is expected. Looking strictly at those 5 players, it's easy to argue that the Rams already possess everything they need. So why would anyone even bring up Mark Andrews? The biggest reason is that, despite the impressive depth already on the roster, 2 areas still appear open for improvement. The first involves blocking consistency. Although every tight end currently on the roster is capable of blocking, most of them are viewed primarily as receiving threats. The room naturally leans toward pass-catching talent. The second area is creating an even more reliable touchdown presence in critical situations. Parkinson's 8 touchdowns certainly stand out, but more than half of them came during blowout victories. The question becomes whether another experienced veteran could provide an even greater matchup problem when defenses tighten near the goal line. That is where Andrews enters the discussion. There is no denying that his recent numbers have declined compared to earlier seasons. Last year, he finished with 5 touchdowns, 422 receiving yards, and 48 receptions, representing the lowest yardage total of his career and his fewest touchdowns since entering the league. On paper, those statistics suggest a player whose production is moving in the wrong direction. However, statistics rarely tell the entire story. The situation surrounding Andrews has changed considerably over the past couple of seasons. Following Baltimore's playoff loss after the 2024 season, criticism surrounding his role intensified. Since then, there has been growing discussion about his future with the organization. Rather than viewing him strictly as a declining player, another perspective is that he may simply need a fresh opportunity in a different offensive environment. That possibility naturally leads people to the Rams. If there is one offense built to maximize tight ends, the numbers suggest it is Los Angeles. No team used 13 personnel more frequently. No team relied on multiple tight ends as consistently. In that kind of system, a player with Andrews' experience could potentially rediscover some of the production that once made him one of the league's most dangerous players at the position. There are also elements of his game that align with what the Rams appear to value. He brings size, experience as both a receiver and blocker, and a history of producing touchdowns at a high level. Those qualities could complement the existing group instead of replacing it outright. Of course, that doesn't automatically mean a trade makes sense. Any move involving Andrews would almost certainly require meaningful compensation. Baltimore would likely expect more than future draft selections. That immediately creates another difficult question. Would the Rams really be willing to part with someone currently in their tight end room? Considering how well Parkinson played, how much Higbee still contributes, how Allen continues to develop, and how much potential exists with Ferguson and Percher, moving one of those players would not be an easy decision. Chemistry matters. Continuity matters. Development matters. At some point, adding another talented player can actually create difficult roster decisions rather than solving existing problems. That is exactly why this debate is so fascinating. On one side, you have a tight end room that already appears deep, productive, and filled with complementary skill sets. On the other side, you have a veteran with an impressive track record who could potentially thrive inside an offense that already features tight ends more than any other team in the league. Would Andrews truly elevate the position enough to justify the cost? Or would the smarter approach simply be trusting the players already inside the building? There may not be a definitive answer today, but it is certainly a conversation worth having. The Rams have shown throughout the offseason that they are constantly searching for ways to improve, regardless of how strong a position group already appears. If another opportunity presents itself, history suggests they will at least consider it. When you take an even closer look at the Rams' current tight end room, it's easy to understand why this position has become such an important part of the team's identity. Instead of relying on one dominant player to handle every responsibility, the group is built around different skill sets that complement one another. Each player brings something unique, allowing the offense to create different looks without changing personnel. Tyler Higbee continues to be the veteran presence that holds the room together. Having spent so many years with the organization, he understands exactly what is expected every time he steps onto the field. Even after dealing with injuries last season, he remained productive, scoring 3 touchdowns while maintaining strong efficiency as a receiver. The fact that the Rams recently signed him to a 2-year extension shows they still believe he has an important role moving forward. Experience like Higbee's is difficult to replace, especially in a position group that requires chemistry, communication, and a complete understanding of the offensive system. Colby Parkinson, meanwhile, may have had the biggest breakout among the tight ends. His 8 touchdown receptions made him one of the team's most productive scoring threats, and his physical frame immediately stands out whenever the Rams enter the red zone. Standing 6'7" and weighing 266 pounds, Parkinson naturally gives the offense a massive target. Defenses have to account for that size, especially in contested catch situations where simply throwing the ball high can create an advantage. His production last season demonstrated that the coaching staff already trusts him in those critical moments. Davis Allen quietly continued developing into a dependable all-around contributor. While his receiving numbers improved significantly, with 24 catches for 208 yards and 3 touchdowns, what makes Allen particularly valuable is his versatility. He has shown he can contribute both as a receiver, working across the middle of the field, and as a blocker when the offense needs additional support up front. Having a player capable of handling multiple responsibilities gives the Rams more flexibility without needing to substitute personnel. Terrence Ferguson remains one of the most intriguing players in the group. Although his opportunities were limited during his rookie season, he consistently made the most of them. Averaging more than 20 yards per reception, while scoring 3 touchdowns on only 11 catches, highlights his ability to create explosive plays. Rather than serving strictly as a traditional inline tight end, Ferguson demonstrated that he can stretch defenses vertically and become a legitimate downfield option whenever his number is called. Then there's rookie Max Percher, whose arrival adds another layer of excitement to this already crowded room. His reputation entering the league centers around his receiving ability. Throughout college, he showed the ability to run routes from multiple alignments, creating separation both underneath and down the field while consistently displaying reliable hands. Although blocking is still viewed as the area where he has the most room to grow, his natural receiving skills could allow him to make an impact as he continues to develop. When all 5 players are viewed together, it becomes clear why the Rams invested so heavily in this position. The room features veteran leadership, red zone production, versatility, big play potential, and young upside. Instead of having 5 players with identical strengths, each tight end fills a slightly different role within the offense. That balance may ultimately become one of the biggest reasons why the Rams continue placing such a heavy emphasis on multiple tight end formations. And that's exactly what makes the Mark Andrews discussion so complicated. The Rams aren't looking to fix a weakness, because there isn't an obvious weakness in this group. Instead, any potential move would simply be an attempt to make an already talented unit even stronger. Whether that would be worth the cost remains one of the biggest questions surrounding this position group. Now the question shifts to you. If you were making the decision, would you try to bring Mark Andrews to Los Angeles? Or would you stick with the talented tight end room the Rams have already assembled? Share your opinion in the comments below. And if you want to stay updated with every Rams development as soon as it happens, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and click the video on your screen, because that's where you'll always find the latest Rams news first.